Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel. What we'll be doing in today's video is continuing with the light issues and more specifically fixing the terrible wiring behind the headlights. Before that, let's roll the intro. So if you saw the last video when I was dealing with light issues on the G-Wagon, where amongst other things I replaced the front side indicators, I needed to remove the headlight in order to get to the indicators because that's the process to do it. I saw some very bad wiring, poor choices of mounting of the ballast igniters and the CANBUS emulators. Now at that time the only issue that caused was some random lights appearing on the dash saying that the headlights weren't working, even though they obviously were working. But later on what happened was, actually a couple of weeks back, I was driving at night on the highway and I put on the fog lights because it was foggy and all of the lights went out. So all of the front lights, headlights, high beams, fog lights, everything went out. And the only way to fixing that was to restart the vehicle completely. And that, as you can imagine, going 140 kilometers per hour on the highway at night, it was like 3 a.m. Not great. So I think that the main culprit behind this is the shoddy wiring and the absolute garbage of components that was used from the previous kit. So let me show you what I got and let's get on cracking. What I have here is the essentials when working with wiring. I have some shrink wrap, crimp connectors, insulating tape, a digital multimeter, zip ties, wire cutters, all of that good stuff. And we also have this, which is the new Xenon kit that I will be putting on. This supposedly one of the most expensive kits, should be very high quality. And the cool thing about it is that it says here it's an AC kit. So this kit works with AC ballasts. Now the cool thing about AC ballasts is that they last longer, and the bulbs, when you use with conjunction with these AC ballasts, they also last longer. The only thing is that they're a lot more expensive than the normal kits you can find on eBay. Now I will put on a small snippet right here explaining about AC versus DC ballasts and how that impacts both light output and longevity. But yeah, this is the kit that I got. It's from Raytech, and it is supposed to be quite good. So let's start removing the front headlights and let's see if all of this works. Before I begin with the removal process, just to address a couple of potential questions which may arise. Firstly, why is the vehicle so dirty? The answer is it's winter and it gets dirty. I can wash it and 5-10 minutes later it will be exactly the same as if I didn't wash it. So in this case I simply didn't bother doing it. Secondly, you may see that my hands are red. This is because, again, it's winter. It's currently 10 degrees Celsius outside. It's quite cold. Thirdly, I'm not going to go in full detail about removing the headlights and pulling the pull bar down. I've done this in the previous video. I'll put a notation right here. If you're interested in seeing that, I have done it there. So without further ado, let's finally start working on the G-Wagon. I will also be pulling the front grille out. It will make the process a little easier. Plus I want to really see if, because this grille is obviously not original to this vehicle, this being a 2002, and this grille is, if I remember correctly, from 2005, something like that up. So I just want to see if it's an aftermarket one or if the previous owner splurged and got an OE Mercedes one. To do that, there are a couple of 10mm fasteners holding it from the top side. These are the fasteners. They have a washer on the top side, they have this rubber thing, and they also have a spacer on the inside which centers the grille exactly where it should be. And like I said, on mine we have two. Now once the fasteners are removed and these headlight covers are loosened, it should be fairly easy to both remove the side ones, so these covers and also the grille. These we simply pull up. And now we can also I've put on some microfiber cloths here on the bumper and on the pull bar hold down because I don't feel like marring up the paint today. And I'm not going to pull this out completely just because we have the tubes for the washers, the headlight washers, going through the grille itself. They're very nicely tucked in, so it would be pointless to remove all of that. But you can see right here that it is a OE Mercedes part. We have the part number 463, 3 8s and 4 zeros. And we also have a pair of original headlight covers right here as well. So that's great. So whoever did this facelift did it right. With this simply hanging here, that's honestly the best way to leave it. We don't need to remove this all the way. Well, we could, but we don't need to. We can work on the headlights now. This gasket, this is the headlight gasket. It simply comes out like this, and now we have full access to the headlights. At least this one, the other one we'll do after. But here is how the headlight is mounted. We have these fasteners here and one also on the bottom side, which are for the adjustment. Actually, it's on this side, it's right here. It's to aim the headlight properly. And then we have this, and another one right there in the bottom to remove the actual headlight. So let me take these ones real quick, and we'll see the mess that's behind the headlight. Once you remove the fasteners, don't worry, headlight's not going to fall down. I did, however, drop one of the fasteners, so I will need to look for it because we will need it. Found it. 3 fasteners, two of them the same, third one different. I guess they should be all the same, but God knows how many people have messed with these over the years, so I shouldn't be too surprised. Let's put it somewhere safe and get to removing the headlight itself. With all the fasteners removed, getting to the headlight is fairly easy. These aftermarket headlights though are a little bit more finagling. You need to finagle them a little bit because they have a place for to put in a ballast right here, which the person who did this before me didn't do, and you'll see once again the entire mess of everything that they did. But well, what can we do? Well, now we have the headlight dangling right here, which is alright, it's fine. And you can also see right there is the ballast. It's not tied down to anything. And we also have an CANBUS emulator and an igniter that looks fairly small and actually looks like crap. So considering that they're not watertight, at least these ones aren't for sure, as you can imagine, that's not really good for them. So this may very well explain why we have issues with the headlights. Particularly the CANBUS emulator might be completely screwed. Now someone did try to isolate this, and they did as you can see, a phenomenal job of it. Just amazing craftsmanship right here. So all of this crap will need to go. But before we do that, there are some important and interesting things that we can see. Firstly, we have right here, this is the CANBUS ballast. Ballast actually looks fairly alright, but it shouldn't have been left dangling right there. The igniter is the absolute cheapest thing on the market. It is rated for 35 watts at 12 volts, which means that this kit was, yes, and it's also written right here, it has 35 watt bulbs in it, and the new one that we will be installing has 55 watt bulbs. This one was however rated at 5000K, which is a whiter than OE light output, so the light itself will look whiter. The new kit that we have is 43,000. It's 4300, sorry, it's 4300K, which means it will be as OE as possible, basically. Now, here we also have the wiring. Now this is whoops, I think the headlight wants to inject itself. Now some of this is the original wiring, some of it someone has been doing something. We'll need firstly to figure out what they did, and then we can start with putting the new system in. Now the other thing that I want to show you is, as you can see, this connector right here is an H4 connector, but the bulb that we have inside is H7. So how did they do it? That's what we need to figure out, because the kit that I bought was also an H7 one, because the headlights themselves accept an H7 bulb. So I'll need a quick moment off camera in order to figure this mess out, and once I have figured it out, I will come back to you and show you. I opened up the back portion of the headlight, which is just this little thing, just twist counterclockwise, and you can see it's held in by these clips. So once you rotate it counterclockwise, it will simply open up. Now, because the headlight is also non-original to this vehicle, we have three sets of distinct wiring that we need to deal with. First, we have the OE wiring, which is for an H4 bulb, which is this big giant connector. It has three prongs, and the reason for that is H4 actually has the low beam and the high beam integrated into one bulb. So it does, when it was an original bulb, it had two filaments inside. So we have one filament which was for the low beams, and then once you put on the high beams, the second filament would also receive power and light up. That's why we have three wires. So we have two wires, two power wires and one ground wire. I would assume that these black ones, so brown ones, black and brown, they have a black stripe, would be the grounds, and the white and the yellow one would be power. Now these three wires here go inside the headlight, and they come on here in a set of more wires. And the reason for that is we have two wires that they have wired in for the headlight, which go to powering up the H7 bulb. And then we have this little guy right here, which is for the shutter, because H7 only has one filament. And the way you put on the low and the high beams is when you press the stalk inside the vehicle for the high beam, a shutter in the headlight activates, and then you have the high beam. So this is my best guess for the shutter, and that's why they wired it up the way they did. This black wire, I would guess, is for the high beams, and these two would be for the normal low beam. This is the connector that came with the headlight itself. As you can see, they're not properly connected, and the connection inside is very deteriorated, so we'll need to clean this up real well. Now, this here is how the H7 Xenon kit gets power. It's really interesting. Well, for me at least it is, because I like working with electricity. Now, what happens is you get power from the vehicle going from here, like this, and to here. Now, we have these two wires. As you can see, this one and this one are these two wires, right? So they first go into the CANBUS emulator right here, then they go to the ballast, and then lastly they go to the igniter. At that point they go back inside. Now they're a red and a blue wire, these ones right here, and go like this, and they go to the bulb. So this is the general way to connect these, and how we should be connecting the new ones as well. Now let's take the bulb out. Xenon bulb, it's supposed to be like a normal H7 bulb, because this is what the headlight accepts, and we can see how the bulb looks, and I can already tell you it looks like crap. This is the bulb. If you're wondering what's wrong with it, well, it is on its way out, and it also looks to be a little bit shorter, I think, than a normal H7 and a normal Xenon bulb, actually. Yeah, the inside of the little canister inside is also on its way out. It has some discoloration here, just overall not in the best shape anymore. So it's good that we will be removing this and replacing it. Now let me grab the new kit and show you the new bulb and all of the new parts. Here are the new parts. As you can see, they do seem of a higher quality. At the very least, these things are braided. Now this is the igniter, the new one. It is rated at 55 watts at 12 volts. We also have the ballast, which is as well rated at 55 watts, 12 volts. And we also have here the bulb, 4300 kelvins at 55 watts, AC bulb. You can clearly see this bulb actually looks more like a xenon bulb than this one. That is a little interesting if we compare them side by side, because this right here is yeah, let me take the protective plastic cover off. So here is the old bulb and here is the new bulb. They're the same length, but the construction is very different. Now the new one is fatter. The filament inside is, from the looks of it, smaller, and the insulation is also less. So this, the new one, looks a little bit more like a normal H7 bulb. We also have some, I don't know if you can see, we have some markings here. We have a product number. I can't really see it, but we do have some markings on the glass itself. On the old one we have nothing. So the construction itself just looks a little bit better. We have this nice plastic insulator on this side, a little bit less insulation on this side, while this is just shrink wrapped and just overall doesn't look that nice. Now let me put this back into the protective cover, because we don't want to damage this or touch this in any way with oily and greasy fingers. And let's continue removing all of this garbage, at which point you install all of the nice new stuff that we have right here. So I was thinking about how to proceed with not the wiring but the mounting part of it, because as you saw here, they just wired it up and tucked everything in there, and as you can see, it is open to the elements, so it's not particularly good to just mush it all in there and have it dangling. None of these components like vibrations, so I wired the other headlight and mounted everything in a manner that I thought was good. Now, it's not perfect because I don't have the necessary hardware to do it right here. I do at home, but I don't have a garage at home, so I'm working outside. I don't have everything with me. So what I did is I mounted the ballast right here with a couple of fasteners, just threaded it into where a ballast was originally supposed to go, because this ballast does not have threads on the other end. These simply are for these little fasteners that are for itself. What I did is I grabbed it in a X pattern with some zip ties, and they're very strong, so it's not going to flap around at all. Now everything else, the CANBUS emulator, if my camera would focus, the CANBUS emulator and the igniter are both sandwiched in here and zip tied to this vacuum line going to the adjuster of the headlights, and the wiring is all neatly tucked in here as well. Now it will be a very tight fit for this entire contraption to fit inside of the opening, but it will. I just tested it and it just barely fits in there. So I'll quickly pop this in and then I will show you how to do everything on the other side. So this headlight is now completely installed. The gasket that goes around it is also in place, and we can proceed with this one. Alright, so the first thing that you'll need to do is disassemble all of this. Now, as you can see, this bulb cannot pass through this hold down, so we'll need to gently remove the hold down itself and put it in a safe location, because we'll need that for later. We'll then need to disconnect these wires, these The entire thing will come out now, and it does have both the ballast, the CANBUS emulator, and the igniter connected to it. And we will proceed to unplug this and this. We'll clean up these wires nicely, and then we'll put in the new bulb. So this right here, this connector is for the daytime running lights, and these were very, very corroded. And let's see, this one, as you can see, also quite corroded. I didn't bring any electrical contact cleaner with me. I forgot that, so we'll just use the wire brush and gently clean up these electrical connections. Let's clean up the connectors themselves a little bit. And the headlight. I don't know what this is, but it can go. We don't need that crap. You can see here how this wiring has come undone from where it's supposed to go. This is no bueno. Dust and grime can go through this, because right here this is insulated. You see they put in some hot glue or something in here, but this is not, so we'll need to tuck this back inside and put a zip tie on top of it. I don't know what they did here with this electrical tape, but we will remove this, clean this nicely, and then put it in there, put a zip tie on top of it. Should be done, should be good to go. This is some kind of a relay, as far as I can see. Oh, we'll leave this be. Apparently, if the Chinese guys put it in, then probably it's necessary. Now, let's carefully tuck this bad boy right here, and now I realize this wasn't actually shrink wrapped. Let me get a lighter and see if we can shrink wrap this back together so it goes in easily inside. It is shrinking, so that's good. Let's just hope the wires inside aren't getting fried as well. This is some thick insulation, so it should be fine, I guess. Plus I'm not leaving the flame on one side for too much, so probably it's fine. Now let's put this guy back together the way it was supposed to be. Just like that, and then we'll also put in a zip tie, nice fat one, to keep it in place. Done. So, cut these pieces that are on either side, because whoever did this before didn't do it properly. Now this is nicely put back together. Like I said, this is for our shutter, and now we can take out our new bulb and put it in. But before we do that, we actually need to take one more thing which I forgot from the other side. We need to take the cap off, and as you can see there's a lot of crap dangling from it, so we'll need to disconnect right here the bulb from the igniter on either side, and we'll also need to disconnect it from right here, from this connector right here, which someone taped up. Someone put in this tape on top of it for some unknown reason. Supposed to just split apart. Oh yeah, so here we have our problem. This is most probably why our lights weren't functioning properly. This connector is almost melted. You can see here inside as well. Somehow water got inside and completely destroyed this. And maybe this would explain why the other side is different. I'll show you in a little bit, but see this ballast? Yeah, the other side's ballast is completely different than this one. So I guess whatever happened to this side also happened to the other side. But before we delve into that, we need to pull this guy out of here, the electrical connection, and so we'll need the cap basically, and I just dropped it because why not? Now let me show you the other side's ballast. Right, so after picking everything that I just dropped, this is the ballast from this side with the igniter and the CANBUS emulator and all of that stuff, and this is the one from the other side. As you can see, they're not even remotely similar. They are completely different. You can see even the igniter is different. So you see this little tiny baby igniter, and you can see the other, the blue one. It's probably twice the size of it and also twice as heavy. So we'll need to take the new bulb out of its protective cover like this. Do not touch the glass part of it. Never ever touch it. And we'll need to feed all of this crap through the opening like this. Now when you see the headlight, you will see that it's made for an H7 bulb, but it does have this little tiny cutout right here, and this is where this part of the bulb needs to sit. So the bulb will go like this. You also need not forget the little hold down clip, because without it we'll not be able to put it in and hold it in. So we'll put it like this, take the bulb. You see how this little protruding part of the xenon bulb goes right into that little opening, and it sits perfectly flush. After that, then we simply put in the hold down, and we'll need to snap it in place just like this. Now we'll need to take these little connectors right here and connect them to this connector. Now the red one is power. It will go to the yellow one right here, but it is a little loose, so this will not do. This one is quite loose as well. We don't want that. So what we'll do is I'll cut these out, and then I'll put in some new crimp connectors right here, and then connect. I did have to do the same on the other side because they were again loose. Just check out how loose this is. This is no bueno. So this will make a bad electrical connection, and it will cause this entire connector to heat up and it will melt. Spare ones, cutters, and I'll cut them right where the wire meets the end. Very poor job on the first attempt. Just like this. Now we get our wire strippers. We take on 2 from this little baggie. They, like I said, they seem to be the same ones, but they're not. These are ones that I bought, and they are better. They are thicker. So twist up the little wire so it goes in nicely. The best thing would be to solder them, but I don't have a battery powered solder, so we'll just do it like this. And now put in the other one more smack here at the end. Just for good measure. Yeah, this isn't going anywhere. Good. Now, like I said, the black one goes to the black. You can see how fatter these are. They're just going so nice. Oh yeah, nice audible click. And now we will need to put in this cap over these connectors and this rubber insulating material, which will prevent dust and other garbage to go inside the headlight. Now, I also had to deal with this on the other side. This is too big, so this part will need to grind down a little bit. Now, what I did on the other side is, this is simply a separate cable hold down, which is, in my opinion, completely unnecessary, considering it's pinned, and we also have rubber insulation on this side, so it's not going anywhere anyways. And these will also need to trim, so these little ears that are protruding, we'll need to trim those as well. We can put in the connector through. It's still a tight fit, but it does go in, as well as the other connections. Then we'll need to, you see how this is has both of these things, so the top part will need to go outside of this, and this will stay on the inner part. So the idea is, when it's sandwiched in between, water, dust and grime will not be able to go inside. So this is how this is supposed to look, and this is on the inside, so it is nicely protected. This is goes in on the one way, so this way. It is locked by twisting it, and you'll hear an audible click. Before we do anything else, we'll need to install the Raytech ballasts, and how I did it on the other side is, I firstly connected the wires. They are keyed, so they only go in one way. So this right here is the new igniter. Obviously this cannot fit in here, so it goes only one way here. It is keyed, like I said, so it just goes like this. You'll hear a noticeable click. And we'll also need to take the CANBUS emulator from its box like this, and it is also keyed. It also only fits in one way, just like this. Now that this is done, we'll need to figure out a way to mount these guys. And the way I did it on the other side is I tuck them in right here in this little opening. Yeah, it took some finagling, but I think this is how this will go. Now we have this connector, needs to be plugged in here. It is keyed, as you can see, so it only goes one way. And these two ones, again, keyed, so you can't really mess it up. Now finally what we need to do is zip tie these bad boys together, and that would be it. Now connect the big connector right here. It only really goes one way, and we have the brown one is the negative, so it goes right here, and the red one is the positive, so it goes right here, just like this. Now we can test out if this headlight works, and I'll do it right now. And let's see. Yep, it is working. Everything is working on it. Now let's put this mess back inside, just the way it was. And they do look great. They appear to be a little bluish in the beginning, but then once they warm up, they are very much white, which is perfect. Alright guys, thank you for watching this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing to the channel. And if you have any questions, as usual, please post them in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer them.